A poor boy searching for firewood finds an injured millionaire lying in the forest, his clothes torn, his hands covered in blood, and fear in his eyes. But when the man gasps, "They're coming, run!" the boy realizes this isn't just a rescue. It's the beginning of something much bigger. What happens next will leave you speechless. The wind howled like a wounded animal as Silas Carter, a 16-year-old boy with dirt-streaked cheeks and calloused hands, trudged through the dark Appalachian woods. His threadbare coat clung to his thin frame, soaked through from the rising mist. He wasn't out here for adventure, he was out here for survival. His mother lay sick in their cabin, her coughs echoing in his mind with every step. He needed firewood, maybe a few berries, anything to get them through the night. But as the storm clouds rolled in and thunder began to growl across the hills, a sound broke through the wind, a faint groan, low and human. Silas froze. Every instinct screamed at him to turn back. The forest could be cruel, hiding snakes, wolves, or worse, desperate men. Yet that sound, it wasn't wild. It was pleading. Pushing through the brambles, Silas found him, a man slumped against an old oak, his fine clothes torn, his leg twisted at a horrible angle. His face was pale beneath streaks of blood and dirt. This wasn't a hunter or traveler, this was someone important. The kind of man Silas only saw from a distance in town. When Silas knelt, the man's eyes fluttered open. He gripped the boy's wrist with trembling fingers and rasped, "Help me, please." "Who did this to you?" Silas whispered. The man's gaze darted toward the trees. His breath hitched. "They're coming, run." Before Silas could ask another word, the man collapsed into unconsciousness. The rain began to fall harder now, soaking them both. Silas looked down at the man, bloodied, helpless, terrified, and made the decision that would change everything. Against every warning voice in his head, he lifted the man's arm over his shoulder and began dragging him toward his cabin. He didn't know who they were, but he knew one thing. He couldn't leave him there to die. By the time Silas reached his crumbling cabin, his muscles burned with exhaustion. He kicked the door open and half-dragged, half-carried the man to the floor near the dying fire. His mother, Martha, pale and weak under a heap of blankets, stirred and gasped. "Silas. Who is that?" "He's hurt," Silas panted. "Found him in the woods." Martha's eyes filled with fear. "You don't know who he is. He could bring trouble." Silas ignored her protests. He tore strips from an old shirt and washed the man's wound with what little clean water they had. When the bleeding finally slowed, Silas sat back, breathing hard. Hours later, as thunder rattled the roof, the stranger woke. His voice was hoarse. "Where am I?" "My cabin," Silas said quietly. "You were hurt." The man's eyes darted around, taking in the cracked walls and Martha's weak form on the cot. "You saved me," he said slowly. "You shouldn't have." Silas frowned. "Why not?" The man's expression darkened. "Because whoever did this to me, they'll come looking. And when they do, they'll kill anyone who gets in their way." Martha's hand clutched her blanket tighter. Silas felt a chill crawl up his spine. Later, as Silas tended to the fire, the man finally spoke again. "My name is Everett Hale," he said. Silas froze. Everyone in the state knew that name. Everett Hale, the railroad tycoon, the millionaire who owned half the valley. "What are you doing out here?" Silas asked. Everett hesitated. "I was betrayed. Someone close to me, a business partner. They wanted what I built. They thought leaving me for dead would solve their problem." His eyes drifted toward the window, haunted. "But they don't know me as well as they think." Before Silas could ask more, Everett's hand shot to his wrist. "My watch," he gasped. "It's gone." Silas blinked. "Your watch?" "It's gold. Engraved. It was here when you found me. Everett's tone sharpened. Did you? Silas's blood boiled. You think I stole from you? The tension crackled like lightning. Martha whispered, Silas, please, but the boy's voice broke with anger. I dragged you through the rain. Saved your life. And you call me a thief? Everett stared at him, then his hardened face softened. You're right, he murmured. I'm sorry. Silas turned away, but the seed of mistrust was already planted. The next night, the storm grew quiet, but the forest didn't. The woods whispered with movement. Leaves crunched softly outside. Silas was tending to the fire when Everett suddenly stiffened. Turn that light down, he hissed. Silas frowned. Why? Everett's eyes were hard now. Because they found us. Through the window, 3 figures moved among the trees, shadows carrying rifles. The glint of steel flashed in the moonlight. Get your mother out of sight, Everett ordered. His voice had changed, steady, commanding, used to being obeyed. Silas grabbed the old rifle from the corner. We can't just hide. They'll find us. Everett's jaw tightened. You don't understand. They're professionals. If they see you. A gunshot tore through the night. The window shattered. Martha screamed. Silas hit the floor, his heart hammering. They're here. Everett gritted his teeth, dragging himself toward the door despite his injured leg. Silas grabbed him, whispering, You can't fight like this. Everett's voice was cold. I'm not running again. Before Silas could stop him, Everett reached into his torn jacket and pulled out a small revolver. His hand shook, but his eyes burned with fury. They want me dead because I uncovered their scheme, he said. They stole millions, and now they're cleaning up their mess. Silas glanced at his mother, pale. Trembling, praying. He turned back to Everett. Then we fight. The cabin erupted in chaos. Bullets shattered wood, sparks leapt from the fire, and rain poured through the holes in the roof. Silas returned fire, missing narrowly, but forcing the attackers to duck. In the dim light, Everett's face glistened with sweat and blood. You've got courage, boy, he muttered. More than most men I know. When the final shot rang out, silence fell. The attackers fled into the storm, leaving only the echo of their boots fading into the night. Silas dropped the rifle, his body shaking. Everett slumped back, breathless. They'll regroup, he said. We have to leave at dawn. Silas looked to his mother, then back to Everett. Leaving meant risking everything, but staying meant certain death. By sunrise, the storm had passed. Mist drifted between the trees like ghosts. Silas helped Everett to his feet, wrapping the man's arm over his shoulder once more. The journey to town was brutal. Everett could barely walk, and Silas's arms ached with every step. But the thought of saving his mother pushed him forward. When they finally reached the edge of the valley, a black carriage waited on the road, Everett's men. They rushed forward, calling his name. Silas hesitated, suddenly feeling small and out of place beside the powerful man he had saved. Everett turned to him, eyes glistening with something deeper than gratitude. You saved my life, he said quietly. And I almost repaid you with suspicion. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a golden watch, dented but whole. Found it in the mud by your cabin. Seems I misjudged you, Silas Carter. Silas gave a small, tired smile. Happens to the best of us. Everett placed a hand on his shoulder. Not many would have done what you did. Come with me. Your mother, she'll get the best care there is. You have my word. Tears stung Silas's eyes as he nodded. Weeks later, Martha recovered in a fine bed under a real roof. Silas stood by a window overlooking the green hills, his clothes clean, his hands no longer shaking from hunger. Everett joined him quietly. "You taught me something, Silas," he said softly. "Money can buy many things, but not the courage of a boy who has nothing, yet still chooses to help." Silas smiled faintly. "Guess we both found something in those woods that night." Everett nodded. "A reason to live." He went into the forest looking for firewood, but what he found was a man whose life would change his own forever. Sometimes, the poorest hearts carry the richest courage, and one act of kindness can ignite a future neither could have imagined.